Hello, everybody. I am so pleased that you're here with us. My name is Dr. Angelika Christie, the host of the show, Your Radiant Life After 45. It's a show for mature women who want more from life, who want to have optimized body and optimized mind and really know themselves in their entire glory, who want to be unapologetically their best and highest self. So today I have a beautiful surprise for you, a lady that I just got to know maybe 2 weeks ago or less. And her story absolutely fascinated me. So I invited her to tell her story because it is so important, because it's not enough talked about today. So her name is Samantha Mackey, and Samantha used to hold a high position in the hospitality business in America, the Caribbean, and Europe, and as a revenue management executive, and later she held a position with the NHS. But then she experienced a severe stroke during her job at the National Health Service. Okay. Yes. And that is where she first encountered that business coaching for people who experience a stroke, maybe her calling. And she has been doing just that. And I find her motto so inspiring because, you know, it is what we all have to do, and that is just carry on. But I want her to show you and tell you her story, and also what her coaching is all about. Okay, so without further ado, here is Samantha Mackey. Samantha, thank you so much for being on my show. And as a stroke survivor myself, because, you know, people say, okay, it's stroke, but then a TIA is not really a stroke. Yes, it is, you know, and it's, yes. And we want to hear a little bit about your experience and knowledge, and also how you work in the world now to bring more awareness and also help people who experience that and don't know how to talk about it or don't know where to turn.
Well, I must first of all say thank you very much for inviting me to speak on your show. Where to start? As said, I was holding a really high-powered job in the hospitality industry, and I had my first mini stroke in 2006, and then I had the following mini stroke in 2008. Both times I went back to work within a couple of days because no problem, yeah. And then things got serious on me. I had a major stroke, more severe stroke. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't speak. The only words I could say when I came to were yes, no, and my brother's name. But I felt held, and I felt that those friends that were around me, few though they were, really cared for me.
Yeah.
And I did many things. I recovered, so I thought, but the cognitive issues remained. Now I know what cognitive issues are, but when you're called in after you go into rehab, I was in hospital for 6 weeks, and then I was in rehab for another 6 weeks. And at the end of that time, I was called in to the sign-off person that signs you off when, you know, you're all better.
It's just you're home, right? They say you're good to go.
Yeah.
Struggle on your own from now on, you know, kind of almost. It almost sounds like you just deal with it from now on your own,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Okay. And I heard something about cognitive issues, but I didn't understand what that was. And my brother was with me, but he also didn't understand. So I filed that neatly to the back of my brain, and then I got on with life. I moved up to Scotland. Impulsiveness is one cognitive issue that one must be aware of. I moved back, and it was only when I was working at Nespresso that my former employee, who had worked himself up to being a general manager, said, "You're wasted here, come and work for me." And at that time, I thought, oh my God, yes, of course. I was going back to doing something I loved. So I went to work for him. This story has a point. And after 6 weeks, he fired me. And so I went crying. I cried all the way home, and I went back to my OT, occupational therapist, saying, why am I doing things so wrong? I took a lower position than I'm accustomed to, but I thought I was fine, but I wasn't. So I couldn't multitask. People coming to the reception desk, I would get confused. And even though she offered him to come in and work with me and figure out some strategies for me, he was not interested. So, okay. But she called me in to come into her for further exploration because I exhibit ultra high level cognitive issues. You wouldn't know on a day-to-day basis that I have such things. And she placed me in the NHS. And she said,
yes,
National Health Service. Over here, it's where people go when they're ill. It's free at the point of use. It's a marvelous thing. Unlike
and maybe just saying this quickly, you're joining us from the UK, so you're not in the United States. Okay.
Yeah. I'm in Cornwall.
Okay.
What was I saying?
With these cognitive issues, you didn't really understand it, and now you're trying to figure this out, right?
Yes, and then she placed me in the NHS, and one day I went for a coaching weekend, totally disconnected to the NHS. And then I went back to work that following Monday, and I was scrolling through the newsletter, something which I don't do often enough. And there it was, coaching was on offer, executive coaching. So I signed up and I thought, okay, I completed that within a year. Each month we had a session. But something said to me, neuro-linguistic programming coaching. What was that? That is such a difficult name. Neuro-linguistic programming coaching. Now let's play NLP. So I signed up, and they were giving away a free weekend, so you could really familiarize yourself with it.
Yeah.
And I was hooked because you don't know what you don't know. There's a different way of looking at things, turning those things to your advantage. And that's what I discovered in conversation with a stroke colleague of mine. One day I thought he could use some NLP coaching. And thus the idea was born. Master Stroke Coaching aims to deliver NLP coaching to stroke survivors, head injury survivors, and their caregivers, because they find themselves in the unbelievable position of just caring for someone who has had a stroke.
Yeah. I'm curious, what is, I know NLP, but from a different angle, because as a speaker or even in marketing, NLP has a very, especially lately, in order to talk or speak to not so much to the the left side of your brain, but more of the limbic, more of the emotional side of the brain. So there are certain words, certain phrases that you use in a specific way. Can you share a little bit more about NLP and how it relates to stroke patients and how it helps?
So, for example, your values are accumulated as you grow up.
Yeah.
And from nowhere, this stroke comes along and says, I'm going to deal with you. And suddenly you have to re-examine those values. For example, with me, I too re-examined the value of independence. I'm not as independent as I once was. Okay. And you have to question them. Are they serving you now?
Yeah.
There are many, putting yourself in the third person position. So the first person is the person who you're having the dialogue with, an argument, say. You are the second person. But hovering above you is the guru, the third person. And he knows exactly what is going on because he can see it from a third person perspective. And that has transformed my relationship, the relationship of the many stroke survivors that I coach. And I will give you another example. You give them a table saying, what would happen if you did do it? What would happen if you didn't do it? What wouldn't happen if you did do it? What wouldn't happen if you didn't do it? And those 4 questions transform people's way of thinking. So my thing is, I'm not making doing this for any great financial reward. I'm doing it, I tailor each program to the specific coachee because strokes are different, people's reactions are different, they come with different issues, different challenges, and I work specifically around them. So it has maximum effectiveness. And I wanted to get it to the stage that the NHS, the National Health Service, considers offering coaching, NLP coaching, as they do counseling, as they do, mentoring, as they do psychiatric treatment, as they do a multitude of things. But NLP has only really come into my orbit since Tony Robbins and Oprah. He was on the Oprah show and he was, making it large. And he impressed me. He a bit frightened me, actually. I don't know. But that's how it is in America. And yeah, that's what I ultimately want to achieve.
Yeah. So you do this one-on-one, even though I believe you will write down or keep a track of all of these different cases and maybe at some time can compare them. So where is kind of the red lining, or what do they have in common? What is different? I can just see you because you have that mind to poke and to research that. Have you already written a book? No, you will. I'm sure you will, because that's really outstanding, and I believe you can probably develop a certain blueprint or a system of recognizing certain things, that you have experienced with your students that you have been coaching. I think this is so valuable. And also, have you ever thought of maybe doing it as in smaller groups so that they can help or support each other?
Well, I've been doing this now for 2 years, and I partake in a multitude of Facebook groups, stroke survivor Facebook groups.
Yeah.
And I plan to do in middle of spring a free group course on what NLP coaching can do for you as a stroke survivor or head injury survivor or someone who cared for them. And because they don't know that coaching relates to them, it was only a few years ago that we thought all that coaching was for business executives or for golf or for tennis. We didn't know that we could apply NLP coaching to our personal lives, did we? So I will explain to them, and I will do a group coaching course. Yes. Yeah.
And
But
I mean,
I will also offer individuals and a retreat with me to have me, every day for 2 weeks at my mom's hotel.
Oh my goodness, 2 weeks. That's the longest retreat I can think of. Okay. So that must be a small group so that it doesn't totally wear you out, because that's a
but I plan to stay on 2 weeks more to recuperate.
Yeah.
Excuse me for 1 second. Peter. Yeah. You're in the picture. Oh, sorry.
Just move a little bit to the, you can cover this up with your body. Okay.
Yes, I can.
I mean, I have done retreats because I live in the Bahamas, right? And on an island in the Bahamas, and a beautiful place to just let everything go and come into the alignment with who you really are. And
yes, that's essential.
What the Bahamas really has done to me, my spiritual journey really started in the Bahamas, even though I studied so much about metaphysics, the ancient masters of Tibet, religions, and all of this from when I was in my 20s. But I moved to the Bahamas when I was 36. And this environment from Germany, which is just like very, very similar to what it is in the UK. It's gray and it's, cold, and it's a little bit, it doesn't have to be polluted, not in the countryside, but it's just, it's very compressed, business-like energy. It's fast moving, while in the Bahamas everything is laid back, and that's why they say it's better in the Bahamas, because you can stop and you can reflect and you can just let nature, because our bodies, everything, we are part of the whole, right? The ocean and the sun and the air and the beautiful soil and the white beaches and all of this. It's all within us as well, and we really experience it to a much higher degree when we are actually in that environment. I mean, this is what Dr. Bruce Lipton says. It's with his epigenetics. It's not it's the environment, and so to take people out of their environment where they may have stress.
Exactly, and to remove them to somewhere that is peaceful, that is, various shades of blue and green and all the natural, to get them outside. That's priceless, I think. Yeah.
Outside is so important. Our bodies, I would say, our bodies are ancient. We are not supposed to sit inside, you know,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
chairs and in front of computers. But, you know, it has, otherwise we couldn't have this. So there are always two sides, you know. One is if you don't abuse it, it can be beneficial.
What is abuse, though, you know?
Yes.
For
Yeah.
one person, it's taking my fair share, and for another person, it's how could you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, would you want to share for somebody who had maybe a mini stroke? And I mean, I had 3 mini strokes, and I didn't really talk about it until I thought I must have gotten this for a reason, and was, you know, digging a little bit deeper into it. And then for the first time, I shared it about 10 years ago, because the first one was more longer than 10 years ago. And then the last one was just in 2021. So that's not too long ago. And so these experiences can be so frightening. And that's why when I found you in a Facebook group, I think that was,
Yes.
I was looking for, is there anything, any groups out there? And then I found it on Facebook. But, you know, there is these statistics. Strokes are on the rise, dementia is on the rise, Alzheimer's is on the rise. There are all these things that I think are stress
Related.
Stress related, right? So, but we have gotten so used to living in stress that yes, we may take a little time off, but we never really go deep into
Decompress.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I didn't even realize the cause of my stroke wasn't discovered. And I wasn't living under an awful lot of stress, as I recognized it. So, cause unknown. By 10% of stroke patients or stroke survivors, cause unknown.
Yes, mine was too.
Yeah.
Couldn't find anything.
I know, I thought I was, keeping good, keeping a slim, trim body, working out, doing yoga, not eating anything that was detrimental to me. I put on weight, but that's because Mr. cooks.
How nice to have a man who cooks for you.
Yeah.
I'm not that lucky.
But I love cooking. We cook together.
Oh, that's beautiful. I try to tell my husband that cooking can be a beautiful creative
Sharing experience.
Yeah, yes. But
He's not
he's
interested.
not too convinced. He got so used that I did. You know, sometimes we women, and I believe it's not scientifically proven, but I believe the higher your energy is, and the more you want to do, there is a certain stress on your entire system, on your autonomic nervous system as well. And I was kind of this superwoman, and maybe you have been too, you know, to have
not in the way you were.
all have, you know, maybe in different different degrees or different areas, but you know, 5 children and businesses and a big house and just doing everything. And so there is something that feels great when you can do all of this, but your body is
telling you slow down.
Yeah, and don't listen because it feels too good to be doing all of this, you know. So what would you as a tip, what would you tell people who are listening, who said, is there anything I can do when this happens to me? What is the first thing? Because sometimes it happens and you have nobody even with you, right? What is the first thing that you would say one needs to do?
Go for a walk in nature.
Yeah. That's interesting because I got my first stroke in a hotel room in New York City. I was under a lot of stress, and because I'm a Reiki master teacher, I knew that I needed life force energy to channel through my body.
Yeah.
So out in nature, you're surrounded with that. In a hotel room, in a busy metropolitan city, you don't really feel that. You're kind of
And it clears your mind.
Yes,
Clears your
yes.
mind. Yeah.
So I remember that I just called that energy in because my right arm was hanging totally limp. I couldn't move it. The right side of my body was numb, and so I called that energy in, and I declared it that the energy goes through my arm, and I could feel after about less than 30 seconds, because I kept on demanding it, pulling it through. I felt the first little tingling in it. And so I believe because of my knowledge about how to channel life force energy, I probably saved myself there. But in a later MRI, I mean, it showed up in my brain. So there are residues. It leaves you changed in some way.
Of course. And, I was doing adaptive yoga yesterday with this most amazing lady. She had a stroke, pretty severe. And then she went and did yoga teacher training. She'd never done yoga before in her life. Okay. What? Yeah. And she went and did yoga teacher training and then did adaptive yoga teacher training. So she's inspiration to all of us. I forgot what I was saying.
So you can, and I mean, there is, this is the title of our show, there is life after stroke, right?
Yes.
So you
Take your husband out.
Yeah, you can just, your life changes, but maybe sometimes you are actually pushed into your calling, that maybe
as she was, as you were, presumably.
Yeah, yes, there is something that like everything in life, there is something that has damaged you in certain ways. Maybe not to the degree that it shows very much, but we always know each other, ourselves. We know ourselves so much more than another person. So we recognize even the slightest differences, in ourselves. So I recognize that.
But you are so much more than your stroke or your mini stroke.
Yes, you see, this is what people need to hear. You are so much more, and this doesn't mean that you are less now.
Exactly.
No. But now maybe.
But that's the image that is portrayed in the media. Nobody under 65. Children don't have strokes. Young people don't have strokes, as far as the media is concerned.
They do, but it's not.
It's more and rare. More. 1 in 3 of us will know somebody or experience for ourselves either a stroke or a head injury.
Yeah, I mean, I know that my daughter's classmate, and they were in their 13 or 14 years old. He had a stroke and he died from it. I mean, he was so debilitated. I mean, he was in such a terrible state that I believe he took his own life. He could not. But I am so glad that there is more awareness now from people who are listening to this show and who can get in touch with you. So since we are coming to the end of this first session here, how can people, I know this is going so fast, right? How can people get in touch with you, Samantha?
So my website is called www.masterstrokecoaching.com, but I've had a slight hiccup and my website is down. So people can email me on Sam Mackey, Mackey, at btinternet.com.
btinternet.com. Okay. I will see that I have those. Why don't you put it into the chat? Can you put it in the chat? Because then I can copy it and actually put it under the video for people who are not
Thank you.
us now. They can find it.
Thank you very much for having me.
You are absolutely welcome. It's an honor because you are a hero. I mean, how you have been dealing with this in your own life and have become such an forerunner of that life does not end with the stroke, and how you turned this into helping others. It's just so incredible, and I highly recommend you for anybody who has a stroke. And also I hope that we can do maybe more and spread that word even more. Maybe we can have another session here at some time, but find other media outlets. And of course, you are in my Facebook group, which I invite everybody, any woman 45 or over to come. And that link is also under the video, because we have a vibrant group, and it's Radiant Life Over 45 Club Facebook group.
Yeah, it's a great group, and I thank you for the inspirational quotes and messages you send to your group members, and I wish you every luck in the future, and I will certainly come on your show again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Samantha. Okay.